الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. Alhamdulillah, we've reached our final session, our final reflection on Surah Taha, and it is a great privilege to have spent consecutive nights together, to have reflected on the words of Allah Azza wa Jal. And it's my invitation to you all after tonight is to establish a regular reading of the Quran amongst yourselves, amongst your family, with a translation. There are every language has translations available, every language has tafsirs available, and if there's one effective way to continue the spirit of Ramadan, it is through reading and deep reflection on the ayat of the Quran. The ayat of the Quran is a shifa. They are a healing for the sadnesses, the woes, the difficulties in our life. And it's also a strict warning for falling off track and not obeying the commandments of Allah. So my plea to you all, my encouragement to you all is purchase the Quran if you don't have one already. Purchase a translation if you don't have one already. There's one by Yusuf Ali. There's one by M.A.S. Abdul Halim. There are numerous. And then there's now also the Study Quran, which is a English tafsir, and the most detailed English tafsir in the market, where the editors, they pulled from several classical ahadith, Az-Zamakhshari, Al-Tabari, Al-Qurtubi, Ibn Kathir, and they summarized it and provide commentary. So this tafsir is edited by Sayyid Hussein Nasr. So it's, and then in the Urdu language, there's a flowing tafsir, flowing translation called Ahsanul Bayan, which is also a really good one for anyone that is interested in reading an easy translation with easy tafsir. And then also Tafsir al-Jalalain is translated in numerous languages, including Urdu, English, and many other languages. So Allah Azza wa Jal concludes this surah by saying, أَفَلَمْ يَهْدِ لَهُمْ كَمْ أَهْلَكْنَا قَبْلَهُمْ مِنَ الْقُرُونِ يَمْشُونَ فِي مَسَاكِنِهِمْ. That do they not draw lessons from the numerous people that were destroyed from the past? They used to walk amongst in their dwellings. And another translation or another reading is that this is referring specifically to the Meccans and saying that they are walking amongst those people who were living here and dwelling in these spaces. إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَآيَاتٍ لِأُولِي النُّهَى. This is a very repetitive ayah in the Quran, that verily in these ayat there is for a people of deep understanding. Nuha comes from nihaya, the ending. So people who can draw the conclusion of the arguments that are coming. So the Quran is filled with إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَآيَاتٍ لِقَوْمٍ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَآيَاتٍ لِقَوْمٍ يَعْقِلُونَ إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَآيَاتٍ لِقَوْمٍ يَسْمَعُونَ. People who reflect deeply, people who use their intellect, people who listen deeply, people with sound hearts, people with deep reflection. وَلَوْلَا كَلِمَةٌ سَبَقَتْ مِنْ رَبِّكَ لَكَانَ لِزَامًا وَأَجَلٌ مُسَمًّى. And had it not been for the preordained word that Allah had written for, that your Lord had written for these people, لَكَانَ لِزَامًا وَأَجَلٌ مُسَمًّى, they would have been destroyed. But had it not been for the وَلَوْلَا كَلِمَةٌ سَبَقَتْ وَأَجَلٌ مُسَمًّى, and there is a named appointment, a named period for them. And so we see in the stories of the prophets that there is a certain amount of time that Allah Azza wa Jal gives to a people who have gone astray to make their tawbah before the destruction happens. This is part of the mercy of Allah Azza wa Jal, that those who Allah Azza wa Jal gives some level of power, some level of authority, and that once they begin to abuse that power and authority, that there is a certain amount of time in which Allah Azza wa Jal gives them in order to turn to Allah, to listen to reason, to listen to the voices of justice, and then, like in the numerous periods of history, we see and that there are powerful empires, powerful people, and then they are completely destroyed. Sometimes when reflecting on these surahs, it's like, oh, well, these were stories in the past. Did something like that happen in the modern world? Well, if anybody has studied the Cold War and has read about the height of power that the Soviet Union was in about 1986, and then in just 2 years, one of the most powerful empires in modern history completely collapsed, and you had the formation of 14 different countries, and then Russia, and so it even happens today that there's a certain amount of time that Allah Azza wa Jalla leaves a people who are committed to injustice and oppression, and then the cycle of the arc of history, which Martin Luther King says, the arc of history is long, but it bends towards justice. And so we keep our hope in these difficult times for the Muslims, especially for the Muslims in Palestine and Sudan and China and numerous other places our feeds don't even get access to, that we keep hope in Allah Azza wa Jalla. فَاصْبِرْ عَلَى مَا يَقُولُ. Be patient against what they say. وَسَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّكَ قَبْلَ طُلُوعِ الشَّمْسِ وَقَبْلَ غُرُوبِهَا. That in the face of oppression, in the face of this difficulty, glorify the name of your Lord. فَسَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِكَ. That proclaim gratitude and praise of your Lord. قَبْلَ طُلُوعِ الشَّمْسِ. Before the rising of the dawn sun. وَقَبْلَ غُرُوبِهَا. And before the sinking of the sunset. وَمِنْ آنَاءِ اللَّيْلِ فَسَبِّحْ وَأَطْرَافَ النَّهَارِ لَعَلَّكَ تَرْضَى. And during the nights proclaim, فَسَبِّحْ, this is going back to bihamdik, proclaim the praise of Allah, وَأَطْرَافَ النَّهَارِ, and in the corners of the days, meaning the beginning and the night, which is a poetic way of saying all the time. All the time, so that لَعَلَّكَ تَرْضَى. Not that Allah is pleased, so that you become pleased, because it is a virtue. One of the side effects of praising Allah Azza wa Jal is this a feeling of expansion, a feeling of sufficiency, a feeling of that what Allah has ordained for me is from His infinite mercy and love. And so what I have in this life, it is from Allah. And what I don't get from this Allah in this life, it is also from Allah. And in both there is a wisdom, in that which Allah takes away